10:47 local time. Black Sea. The Black Sea was unusually quiet. Low swells, clear visibility, a calm that felt unnatural for one of the most militarized bodies of water on Earth. Cutting through that calm was a US Navy guided missile destroyer operating in international waters under a NATO-aligned patrol schedule. Its radar swept constantly, its crew disciplined, its posture deliberately non-provocative, routine, until the warning tone sounded. The first alert, 10:49 hours. A radar technician froze. "Sir, new high-speed air contact, bearing 065, descending fast." The Combat Information Center snapped to life. Speed, high. Altitude, dropping. IFF, negative. The destroyer's captain stepped closer to the display. Aircraft type? The air defense officer hesitated. Large radar cross-section. Long wings. Possible bomber. The room went silent. The Russian bomber appears. Moments later, the shape became visible on the horizon. A Russian Tu-22M Backfire bomber, long-range, supersonic, and designed to hunt ships. Its nose angled downward, its wings swept back, its engines screamed as it dropped altitude. This wasn't a transit, this was a message. Unverified, flight intent. Unverified OSINT sources later claimed the bomber had launched from a southern Russian airbase under orders to demonstrate presence in response to increased NATO naval activity. Whether that directive included a direct overflight remains unclear, but what happened next left little room for interpretation. The approach, 10:52 hours. The bomber was now inside 25 miles, too close. The destroyer's defensive systems shifted from monitoring to tracking. Radar modes changed, electronic sensors sharpened. The captain spoke evenly. "Sound general quarters, but keep weapons cold." Alarms echoed through the ship. Sailors rushed to stations, not panic but alert. Everyone on board understood the gravity of a bomber closing at high speed. The radio operator attempted contact. "Russian military aircraft. This is US. Navy warship operating in international waters. Request you alter course immediately." No response. The bomber descends. 10:54 hours. The Tu-22 dropped below 1,000 feet, then lower. The crew watched in disbelief as the aircraft lined up with the destroyer's heading. Not offset, not parallel. Directly overhead. The air defense officer muttered, "That's a simulated attack profile." The captain didn't argue. The overflight, 10:55 hours. The Russian bomber screamed overhead at less than 200 feet above the mast. The sound was deafening. The deck shook violently. Loose equipment rattled. Sailors instinctively ducked. For a split second, the bomber's shadow swallowed the ship. Then it was gone, racing past the stern, climbing sharply. No weapons released, no radar lock detected, but the meaning was unmistakable. Why this matters? Military professionals agree on one thing. A bomber overflight is not harassment. It is a simulated strike. The bomber doesn't need to fire a missile to send the message. The message is, "We can reach you." The second pass, unverified. As the crew recovered, sensors picked up something worse. The bomber was turning back. Unverified telemetry later suggested the Tu-22 configured briefly into an anti-ship attack posture, changing altitude and speed consistent with a second simulated run. The captain's jaw tightened. Enough. The US response begins, quietly. 10:57 hours. Without fanfare, the destroyer transmitted a priority signal, not to Moscow, not to the bomber, to nearby US and NATO assets. Within minutes, radar screens lit up with new contacts, fast movers, lifting from distant airfields and carriers. The destroyer didn't maneuver aggressively. It didn't illuminate the bomber with fire control radar. Instead, it did something far more deliberate. It held course. Unverified, escort inbound. Unconfirmed reports later suggested US fighter aircraft were already airborne when the bomber made its second turn. A coincidence, or rapid response, depending on who you ask. Either way, the sky was no longer empty. The bomber hesitates. 11:01 hours. The Tu-22 leveled out at medium altitude, no longer diving. It banked slightly, enough for its crew to see the destroyer below, calm and unflinching. The American captain watched the track carefully. "They expected us to flinch," he said quietly. "We didn't." A dangerous misread. From Moscow's perspective, if unverified analyst reports are correct, the bomber crew may have believed the overflight would end the encounter. Instead, it triggered escalation. Not loud escalation, calculated escalation. The situation tightens. 11:03 hours. A second Russian aircraft appeared on radar. Smaller, faster, possibly an escort. The destroyer's air defense officer spoke calmly but firmly. "Sir, air picture is getting crowded." The captain nodded. "Still cold weapons, but record everything. Every radar sweep, every altitude change, every maneuver, because this incident would not stay at sea. The line has been crossed. In modern naval operations, ships expect to be watched. They expect to be shadowed. They do not expect to be buzzed by heavy bombers at attack altitude. That move crossed an invisible line, not written in treaties, but understood by every navy on Earth. And now, with aircraft converging, diplomats waking up, and command centers lighting up across 2 continents, the moment had arrived, not for retaliation, but for response. A response that would make it unmistakably clear this warship was not alone, and the next phase of this encounter would unfold far above the Black Sea, faster, louder, and far closer to the edge than anyone intended. 11:06 hours, Black Sea. The moment the Russian bomber leveled out, the air picture changed, fast. 2 new radar tracks punched through the edge of the destroyer's display. High speed, high altitude, closing from the southwest. The air defense officer didn't need confirmation. Fighters, American. The captain nodded. About time. The American arrival. At 35,000 feet, a pair of U.S. Air Force F-15C Eagles entered the airspace, their arrival impossible to miss. Their radar emissions cut clean lines across the sky, deliberately strong, deliberately obvious. This wasn't a surprise intercept, it was an announcement. The Russian bomber's warning receivers screamed. Inside the Tu-22 cockpit, the crew stiffened. They weren't being targeted, not yet, but they were no longer alone. Unverified, escort confusion. Unverified OSINT chatter later suggested the bomber's smaller escort aircraft, possibly a Su-30, had not expected US fighters to appear so quickly. Whether this was a miscalculation or an intelligence failure remains unclear, but the Russian formation hesitated, and hesitation in the air is dangerous. The intercept 11:09 hours. The F-15s descended sharply, positioning themselves between the bomber and the destroyer. Textbook intercept geometry. One Eagle slid left, the other right. Perfect spacing. No radio taunts, no aggressive turns. Just presence. The lead F-15 pilot keyed the mic. "Russian military aircraft, you are approaching US. Naval forces. Alter course immediately." This time, the Russians answered. The Russian reply. A calm but clipped voice came through. "American fighters, this is Russian Air Force aircraft conducting lawful flight. Maintain distance." The F-15 pilot replied instantly, "Negative. You conducted an unsafe overflight of a US warship. You will depart this area now." Silence followed. Not radio silence, decision silence. The bomber breaks formation. 11:12 hours. The Tu-22's wings shifted slightly. Its nose turned east, not a retreat, but a disengagement vector. The escort aircraft mirrored the movement, staying tight but cautious. Below, the US destroyer's crew watched the tracks diverge. The air defense officer exhaled. "They're backing off," but the captain didn't relax. Not yet. Unverified, the second signal. Just as the bomber turned away, the destroyer's electronic sensors detected a brief sharp radar spike, a momentary illumination from the Russian aircraft. Not a lock, not a guide, a flash. Unverified analysts later debated whether this was intentional or a systems artifact. Either way, it was noticed and logged. The American push. The F-15S tightened their formation, accelerating slightly, not to chase, but to escort out. This wasn't dogfighting, this was shepherding. The bomber crew knew it. They maintained course, climbing steadily away from the ship. The destroyer below remained on heading, weapons still cold, posture unchanged. That calm mattered. The diplomatic clock starts. While jets maneuvered overhead, something else was happening far away. Hotlines lit up. Briefings began. According to unverified diplomatic reporting, both Washington and Moscow were notified within minutes of the overflight and intercept. No one wanted this to escalate, but no one wanted to look weak either. The final turn. 11:18 hours. The Russian bomber reached the edge of the engagement area. The escort peeled off first, diving south. Then the Tu-22 banked hard east, engines flaring as it accelerated away. The F-15S held position for another full minute, ensuring separation. Then they climbed. The sky slowly returned to quiet. Aftermath on the water. Back aboard the US destroyer, sailors stood down from general quarters. Hands shook slightly. Adrenaline lingered. The captain gathered his officers. "This will be investigated. Every second of it." The air defense officer nodded. All data recorded. Radar, EO, EW. Nothing had been fired, but everything had been captured. Why this incident matters. This wasn't a close call. It was a test of resolve, of reaction time, of escalation control. Flying a heavy bomber over a warship isn't bravado, it's signaling, and this time the signal signal was answered, not with missiles, not with threats, but with overwhelming presence. In the days that followed, unverified intelligence summaries suggested both sides quietly adjusted patrol rules in the Black Sea, bomber flight profiles reviewed, naval escort protocols refined, interception thresholds clarified. Because both sides understood the truth, the margin for error is shrinking. No press release mentioned the altitude, no statement used the word attack, but among military professionals, the takeaway was blunt. The flyover went too far, and the response ensured it wouldn't be repeated, at least not the same way. The Black Sea has always been crowded, but now it's crowded with memory. Every radar sweep remembers that bomber, every patrol remembers those eagles, and the next time a pilot considers pushing the envelope, they'll remember what happened when a bomber flew too low, too close, and too boldly, and how quickly the sky answered back.